Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you that is once again not a gaming video. Even though we've got gaming going on all around me here, it's not really about that. It's just some fun Apex Legends gameplay to help this all go down. But today I want to talk about you. And as a matter of fact, one way to say it would be that today's video is sponsored by you, the viewer watching this right now on your phone, because I'm going to ask you to do something in a few minutes that's going to be very, very hard that very few of you will be able to do, and I want you to reply with the results. Most of you watch these type of videos from me, which over the years have been called my philosophical series, even though I didn't really kind of hard latch on that name, because you're seeking some kind of deeper meaning in life, or maybe just for fun distraction. You've got nothing to do, you're at work, you're in class, you're on the bus, you can't sleep at night. For whatever reason, ultimately your brain sees something here on this channel that it likes, that it finds entertaining or distracting, and you keep coming back for more from me, which is leaving me in an eternal challenge to continually find new and meaningful topics. And it also leaves me with a lot of questions in my own personal life, because the more I think about things to share, the more I think about things in general and wander into that scary corridor of existential dread and chasing meaning and defining reality. But even those things, even working on these higher level philosophical videos and trying to do some good, is in itself a distraction. Our brains up here, trapped in our skulls, crave stimulation, preferably external stimulation, though internal thoughts and exercises can be fun too. This can be playing a game on your cell phone, this can be playing Call of Duty or Apex Legends, any video game, watching a movie, reading a book, looking at art, petting your animals, exercise. That's all external distraction or stimulation. Or internal would be more like doing puzzles, brain teasers, daydreaming, running through dozens of what-if scenarios. What if I were president? What if I were king? What if I had superpowers? Or perhaps lustful thoughts. Yes, I was once 13 years old too, and those were ever present in my young brain. But this is because the brain sees itself as being separate not only from our body, but from the rest of the outside world. It is, quite literally, in a sense, trapped under some dense calcium bones up here in our skulls. The brain, the thing that we think and experience the world with, can't go anywhere, it can't really do anything, it's kind of trapped in our body, and it knows that, and it sort of sees that. And because of this, if our brain thinks it's trapped, it's kind of like a prisoner, or maybe a zoo animal. It tends to fixate on things that are outside of its little cage. It wants to know what's going on outside the walls, more and more and more, understand the world, see and learn and experience all the things that it can't really do, which leads me to the quote that roughly defines today's video, which is, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone, by Blaise Pascal. And this guy was alive in the early 1600s. He was a natural scientist, is a good title for him. And even in the 1600s, humanity had a ton of distractions, from drinking to gambling to sex to playing sports and fighting and starting wars and doing anything to avoid being alone or bored. Of course, they had reading and art and the same kind of things, but a lot of times you like to think about old medieval peasants just sitting around, making little mud piles like they would in Monty Python, but that's not really true. They had a lot of distractions, a lot of things going on in their life, and even in this time, people they just hated being alone and bored and have nothing to do, and Pascal saw this as an avoidance of quiet time and as a detriment to their own internal development. Now, today's modern life is even more advanced and even crazier because technology keeps us hyper-stimulated as much as we want or as much as we can handle. And I think technology is a good thing, but it does do some strange things to our brain. Which finally leads me to today's challenge. I want you, the viewer, you watching this right now, Dave, on your cell phone on the way to school, to stop sometime today and sit alone in a room for 1 hour. I want you to just drop everything, find a quiet place, and sit there for an hour. No cell phone, no music, no TV, no books, no little fidget spinners or hand trinkets, no scented candles, not in a bubble bath, not taking a shower, not petting your animals, not a nature walk. The sitting outside is okay. And try not to force little mind games. You could sit there and probably daydream for an hour. You could run through what ifs for an hour. Some of the more scientifically inclined of you could probably crunch little mental math puzzles for an hour to keep yourself distracted. But that's not the point of this. You have to try to let go of your distractions. Now, lights on or off doesn't matter. And what you're sitting on or laying on in comfort doesn't particularly matter, just so that you can stay there comfortably for an hour. And it seems really boring. It seems kind of like I'm trying to give you some hippie, new age meditation stuff. They're like, I'm one with the universe. No, we're not doing that today. This is a really healthy exercise. And it is very challenging. As a matter of fact, it's so hard to do. One study indicated that people preferred getting electric shocks to have something to do, some stimulation, versus absolutely nothing. And the reason that this very simple challenge is so hard is twofold. Number one, we kind of don't like introspection as a people. Even me on my big hoity, on a white horse philosophical channel, find it hard to do proper introspection on myself. Inward thoughts and analysis are the enemy of the ego and the idea of ourself. Without outside distraction, the stillness of mind forces inward thoughts, or even scarier, no thoughts at all. Like doing the more like a proper meditation thing and clearing your mind and having no thoughts is really scary and really difficult for a lot of people to do. I'd be happy today just for you to sit around and think about yourself for a little bit, truly deeply. And that's really hard. It's uncomfortable, it's sometimes gross, it's ugly, it's surprising, and that's not really what we want from the experience. Because many people, and this is point number 2, live with a mental image of their idealized self. That's kind of why the little backwards camera thing on Facebook, the real camera, whatever stupid app it was so popular, because it was showing you the you that other people see and not how you see yourself in the mirror or in front of the selfie camera all the time. But not only do we live with an idealized image of ourselves, but we live with a sort of eternal struggle or challenges. And this is regardless if you are at the Slumdog Millionaire level poor all the way up to Elon Musk level rich. Everybody sees their lives and their own personal challenges as sort of an endless series of struggles and things that you've overcome and you've survived and you've beaten it and you're doing good. But when you're alone in a little quiet room with nothing to do, the rest of the world's influences will start to fade away. These little struggles and challenges aren't going to be important for an hour or two or however long you're going to sit there. It just doesn't matter. You don't have to think about yourself fighting some external threat or planning or doing something. You don't have to think about the ideal you, the you that you want to see, the you that you want to present to other people, because there's nobody there to see it. It's just you in a room by yourself, and you are left with basically just you, essentially. And that's a very hard thing to do. As a matter of fact, when I first tried doing this, I couldn't do it. I'd like 10, 15 minutes, I'm done. And it took me a little time, a little patience, build up and practice. And I got the advice that I was given is that practicing being alone helps you mature as an individual. And this is something that I really believe in. And practicing being alone, I do believe, helped me mature as an individual. Because when you're alone, you're forced to do some introspection about yourself. You are forced to be comfortable with who you really are versus who you think you are. And it, in a slightly different way that we haven't touched on too much, it gives you a little time to really feel your own body. Of course, you feel your own body, somebody slaps you in the face, you feel it, obviously. But you don't really have as dedicated of a feel as you feel the muscles and the blood, and you can hear your heart, and you can get a feeling of the vertebra in your back and all these kind of things, because you're so laser focused on your work or your studies or your next life goal or something like that. You're kind of ignoring your body. And finally, but last, we'll say last, but definitely not least, helps you develop a sense of patience. If you can sit alone in a room with nothing to do for an hour, an airport, a bus terminal, a boring class is nothing. You can just breeze right through that in life. It won't even faze you. And I think the happiest people are ones that are happy just being themselves. They don't need any sort of stimulation. They don't need validation from others. They don't need constant excitement. They don't need drugs or some sort of biological pleasure. We'll keep it very simple. But they're just happy being them. They're happy with who they are in and out. And that's why I want you to give this a try. I think that realistically, I know it's YouTube and a lot of people are going to leave crazy comments and expert about this or whatever. And probably not that many of you that watch are actually going to do it, but I do want you to try. Give it a try, and you may not be able to do it the first time, 2 times, 3 times. Once you're able to actually sit alone in a room for an hour, I think you'll learn some things about yourself that are surprising. So let me know what happens when you give it a go, and if you enjoyed this type of content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.